The University Council adopted a budget last year for this year. Under that budget, the university is expected to have operating expenditure $17.5 million in excess of its operating income. $17.5 million on a total income of about $280 million. So in terms of scaling the problem, think of it more as a 5 to 10% problem rather than a small problem or a huge problem. But it's still in the 5 to 10% problem. In the calendar year ending the 31st of December 2011, the university's total employment full-time equivalent staff fell by about 170, or about 8% of our full-time equivalent staff numbers. That reduction was achieved in part by not filling vacant positions, by reducing the use of casual staff, by letting fixed-term staff run off, and by some compulsory and voluntary redundancies. So the university has shrunk its staff by 8%. However, we still face the conundrum that in this year and in the next few years, our operating expenditure will exceed our operating income. And we will be unable to generate the capital to remediate buildings beyond insurers' proceeds, let alone buy new plant and equipment. That business case for support has been presented to the government, and within that case, we indicate the extent to which we believe we can help ourselves and the extent to which we believe the government needs to help us. So all of that is in the public domain. There's no secrets or surprises about that. At present, we're focusing in particular on the effective use of our teaching resource by looking at a number of what are called small enrolled talk courses, with the view of consolidating classes and options to ensure that we make the most effective use of that teaching resource. It is also the case that some of our programs need substantial investment if they are to grow or if they are to meet standards. And in the current environment, it is unrealistic to assume that that investment can be made. And in those cases, hard decisions have to be made as to whether we should continue to offer those programs at all.
Thank you. Talking about the hard decisions and funding, we have a student who's put a question that says they would like to know where their fees are going, especially in the case of at Teachers College. They have been informed by a lecturer that they're no longer allowed to print handouts, for example, and they had to print a 38-page handout and have it bound themselves. Would you like to comment on fee allocation and where that goes within the university?
So the way in which the university is funded for teaching is through three things. The first one is the government pays us a block grant called the Student Achievement Component, and that block grant comes to us and is related to the number of students we teach. The government sets that sum of money each year in its annual budget and has consistently increased it by less than the rate of on-campus inflation. So in real terms, the university gets less and less each year from that block grant relative to the number of students enrolled. The second component is the tuition fees that students themselves pay, which is a capped amount of money, with the cap set by the government by fee category, and the increases in that fee are determined by the government. Those increases in recent years have been somewhat more in line with on-campus increases in costs. The third way in which we are able to achieve revenue to offset our cost of teaching is through the generosity of those who give to us money through philanthropic support, typically less than 1% of our annual budget. So, faced with that, the university has been constrained to look at how we use our teaching time, but also to provide for savings where it can in those things which are paid for with what is a declining source of income per taught student. That is a challenge. This university has 2,000 full-time equivalent staff, pays over 5,000 individuals in a calendar year. The Human Resource Department at the university has been reviewed. There were not proposals for substantial cuts, but I can assure you that every cost within the university is under scrutiny at present. Every cost.